sometimes makes sense to move slower to go fast. Far too often, leaders treat change as if it were linear, meaning the faster you start, the faster things will go. But we know from decades of research, change follows an esker, meaning it starts off slowly, and hopefully eventually you gain traction, hit an inflection point, which triggers a cascade and unlocks exponential acceleration. The unfortunate truth is most efforts never make it to that tipping point. And the reason is they try and start off too fast. They hit a problem that they hadn't prepared for. They get bogged down and they never recover. This came to a head recently when I was working with a mid-sized American city that wanted to roll out a transformational initiative as fast as possible to their 2,500 employees. They wanted to start with an initial group of 40 directors. And I asked them, why 40? And they started to get nervous. They said, well, wouldn't some people be offended? And I said, well, of the 40, how many do you think would actually be enthusiastic? And they said, well, maybe half. And the way they said maybe half, I was pretty sure they'd be lucky to get a third. And then I asked, well, if you pick just 12, could you find ones that would be enthusiastic? And they said, oh, yeah. And they started naming this one and that one and who they'd bring on. And I said, okay, if you start with the whole group of 40 and you run into a problem because you've never done this before, what are they going to say? And they say, oh, they'll start complaining, they'll start whining. If you run into a problem with that group of 12, what'll happen? Oh, well, they'd work through it. They'd help us figure out how to solve the problem. Once the 12 go through this training program, what do you think they're going to tell? Oh, they're going to tell everybody how great it is. I said, well, don't you think it's worth waiting the extra 90 days to start with the 12 who are enthusiastic and are going to help you propel the initiative forward than by pushing it out to the whole 40 at once? In just a few short minutes, it became clear what the right course of action was. They started with the 12, then quickly rolled out to the 40 once that initial cohort of 12 was successful, and eventually the initiative propagated out to all 2,500 employees. Change is nonlinear. You don't need to bring everybody in at once. It often makes more sense to start slow in order to go fast.